we go. All right, good morning from Vermont. Let me turn that off. Yeah. So we're here today. This is a post AGOGE-001. Feel free to ask us any questions. We'll be answering them by looking down here. Anything you want to ask us about AGOGE-001, about the upcoming AGOGE-002 in June. We've got Race Director Charlie Piso here.
Good morning.
Myself, Tony Matesi, Director of Endurance.
All right, so
any questions you have, start firing away and we'll start answering them.
people on.
Yeah. What is AGOGE?
AGOGE, in two senses. First off, it's the traditional school that the Spartans sent their children to when they turned 7. And when Spartan children became 7 years old, they were taken from their families and sent to the AGOGE. And AGOGE was a school that forged Spartan children into Spartan citizens. The males went to a warrior / boot camp training that got them ready to serve in the military, and the women went to a similar school that taught them to be good citizens, because when the males went off to war, the women ran the city-state. Actually, Leonidas, who was a king, actually was a sort of a ceremonial position. The women traditionally ran the Spartan culture when the men were out fighting. AGOGE as a event is a life-changing sort of event that is meant to give you the tools to exceed your own expectations and to defeat our own worst enemy, which is our mind, which does not let us, or for some people, is our biggest hindrance to letting us know what we can do and what we can accomplish in life.
What's really neat about the modern AGOGE that we've created is it's a full immersion experience that teaches you various skills, whether they're survival skills, endurance skills, ways to overcome adversity, and you do it in a classroom setting, and then after you do that, you right away go out and apply it. You may learn how, in the example here, how to survive cold weather, how to build shelter, how to make fire, how to properly layer your clothing for winter survival. All those things are some of the lessons we taught in classroom settings throughout the weekend, and then we applied them immediately by putting our participants right out there in the action where they had to do it. So, the one night they had to go out and build shelter and sleep for a few hours in the cold. Some people were very well prepared because they paid attention to the gear list and got exactly what they needed. Some were not, and they had to, strategize how they were going to stay warm throughout the night. Some of them had to just sit by the fire all night and didn't get any rest. So it's very important when you do come to an AGOGE that you come prepared and ready to learn.
Yep, and I saw a question come up about what's the difference between pushing people to their limit and pushing too far. I think for everybody, as we all know, that is an individual. That's an individual. If you want to call it, for a race term, that would be a time hack or something like that. But for each individual, there's a line that you think you can't go beyond. And if we push you beyond that line and make you realize, or help you realize, that you can actually achieve things that you didn't think you could achieve, then we're succeeding. Pushing too far, the Crypteia staff at AGOGE are highly trained, highly professional, and if I'd like to maybe do a behind the scenes thing so you could see what goes on behind the scenes with the charting and the watching of the elements and things that are going on, because we have medical staff that are constantly monitoring the participants, and we also have staff that are constantly monitoring the elements. And Tony can attest, we had to change things up because of the temperatures. We expected -20 and we were ended up in the -39, -40 range sometimes, and that vastly changed what we had to do in the amount of time we could have people outside.
Yeah, and it's very important that with an event like this, safety is our highest priority, and then we work back from there. So as the temperatures got worse, we had to redo our strategy, redo how our event was laid out, and impose more and more checks. The frequency of checking on our participants and their well-being increased as the temperature decreased. And that's just part of how these events are always going to play out. Is there's elemental factors that you can't always predict, and you just adapt to them. So just as much as our participants are adapting, so are we. I think I saw a question asking about if Spartan X was going to be further integrated into Agoge, and the answer to that is yes. We're still working out the details on how we're doing that, and we're trying to constantly evolve how we're doing that. But over time, we will be integrating Spartan X further and further into the Agoge program, because basically what you're learning in Spartan X, you're going to be applying in Agoge. That's how the two tie together. That's why they're part of the training trifecta. So yes, we will be integrating that further.
In the touch on Spartan X again, to those of you who've seen Spartan X and have moved through it a little bit, the modules right now Agoge is modeled after each module. Whether we sort of combine modules and combine the philosophy and move on is going to remain to be seen. It's a fluid thing right now. We're trying to figure out the best fit for the two. I think we're well on the way to producing something that's going to be like memorable and have a lot of longevity.
So I saw someone asking about what kind of obstacles are happening at an Agoge. These are not your typical obstacles like you see in a Spartan race. These are more practical obstacles. So for this weekend, we had, we put them into situations where they had to work together as a team. Most of the obstacles were formulated in that sense. Some of them were just designed to create fatigue, so that way when the mind is starting to go, they learn how to use their tools to succeed. So, one of the last challenges they had to do was carry these frozen buckets and do it for a couple hours on end. And that was just a way to generate fatigue, to see how far they could push themselves physically.
Yeah, I saw a couple questions. One was about the Agoge, and are the modules going to mean there's multiple different Agoges? And yeah, so there are going to be Agoges that'll concentrate on commitment, some that will concentrate on grit, some perseverance. Right now, the beta test was True North, and AGOGE-001 was True North and commitment. We combined the two. But yes, so there'll be Agoges that are specifically geared towards commitment, or there'll be an Agoge specifically geared towards perseverance and grit. Right now, we're trying to figure out the best way to present that. We're thinking it's probably going to be 2 modules per Agoge, and they're going to be moved around. So it's not all going to be Pittsfield. There'll be Agoges going to other places and with different parts of the module system. I think you guys are going to really see that this is an evolving process and something that's coming along. I also saw another question about the tri-pieces. I don't know if you saw that question, Tony. They asked about the tri-pieces and
right. I actually have one on me right now. So this is what they earned this weekend is the Agoge piece of the training trifecta, and what that is, that's just 1/3. So the other 2/3, you have the Spartan X course, which is online. It's an online course that you have to do through completion. Then you'll earn the Spartan X piece, and then the other piece for this one is the Spartan SGX. Now, you don't just have to become a coach and do the SGX course. There's a new course called Obstacle Specialist. And what they do is they teach you how to overcome the obstacles in a race more efficiently, more effectively. And so you complete that course. Joe DI can give you more information on that. Once you complete those 3, you get yourself the training trifecta, which is just one side of that delta. The other sides being the race trifecta, sprint super beast, and the endurance trifecta, hurricane heat, 12-hour, and ultra beast.
Okay, so I saw two really good questions. One was about what would we consider a benchmark for signing up for an Agoge. I think the benchmark is going to have to be determined by the person signing up. We had people who had only done sprints here. We had some people who'd only done supers and stuff like that, and then we had some past death racers. The benchmark is really, are you ready to change your life and change it in a way that is taking you and giving you the tools to succeed at whatever you want to do, whether it's athletics, financial, personal life, work life. I think the benchmark is going to be an individual thing. If you feel you are ready for that change and you get a look at Spartan X and you say, wow, I really want to put the stuff I've learned in Spartan X to practice, then this is where you come. I liken this, and I use this analogy a lot. Agoge is like the anvil that you bring Spartan X to, and it gets hammered out into what you individually are going to make Spartan X in your life.
And while some of these people were able to, come from just doing the sprint, they had extensive backgrounds in the military and other things, so they were well prepared for it. A good way to test yourself, though, to see if you are ready, is the 12-hour hurricane heat. It's designed that if you can finish that, you can 100% certainly finish an Agoge. If you're struggling to finish a 12-hour, you might have some trouble finishing an Agoge, but you might be able to finish it. So it's really up to you. You have to come out here and try it. I saw a question about attrition. To answer that one, majority of it was cold, and we want everyone to finish the Agoge, so it is designed for people to finish. Obviously, you have to be fit physically enough to get through it, but most of it at this one, we had very, very strong individuals, and it just came down to not having the proper gear and the cold being so severe that got them to drop.
I think I saw another question too about the difference between the death race and the Agoge. The death race was an event that was meant specifically at Tony. You can best answer that because I've never done a death race, but I've overseen the medical on it. The death race was a last man standing event. It was an event that, in my opinion, was a great event, but it was meant for people to test themselves and get themselves to that finish.
The best way that we've always put it is that it was an event where you had to figure it out. Everything was always laid out, and then you had to figure out how to do it. There was no telling you how to do things. You just had to have the mental capacity to figure out how you were going to obtain those objectives. And it was very much designed to break people. So they were trying, with the death race, they were very much trying to make it last man standing, trying to get, as many people to quit as possible to see who really had the mental fortitude to continue on. Agoge is way different because, granted, it's in the same location in Pittsfield, Vermont, and it's, the same time, 48 hours, 60 hours. We're training you, we're teaching you, we're guiding you. I don't want to say we're holding your hand because we're not doing that, but we're giving you all the tools you need for success. So we take you into a classroom setting, we teach you these things, and then we put you out there and have you, go get that experience hands-on. You don't get that anywhere else. So that's the big difference.
And also, I think the difference is for the people who reach down deep inside and find that gut check moment for themselves and can get through it, those are the ones who are going to succeed. There are going to be people that don't drop, and that do drop, and there are going to be people that don't make it through. But really, what your demons and what you bring to this are going to be the things that keep you from succeeding if that's going to happen.
So I saw a question asking if Agoge was coming to the West Coast. Now that we've had this first Agoge, we're going to go back and start talking about branching out. But we do have the goal and determination to get Agoge all across the country. So, we'd love to get one in the Midwest. We'd love to get one on the West Coast. We'd love to get one in the South. That is something that we will be working on over the next coming months, while we're also working on putting together the plan for June's Agoge. I saw someone else asking about the Agoge being less intimidating. Yes, I would say it is a little bit less intimidating than Death Race. Death Race, you're still not going to know what you're going to do in an Agoge because we're not going to tell you any of that ever beforehand. But you're gonna get lots of good you have teachers here that are teaching you everything you need to know to succeed at the Agoge, whereas the death race was just throwing you out in the fire and letting you try to survive and not burn to death.
For anybody familiar with Eastern culture too, there's a great book called The Book of Five Rings, and in that Book of Five Rings, Miramino Musashi talks about crossing the ravine, and I like to liken Agoge to crossing the ravine. It's a point in your life where you decide you're going to succeed, move through. You decide you're going to live in a survival experience. You decide you're going to achieve whatever the goal is, and that is when a person crosses a ravine. And Musashi says, the reason we do the not tell you what you're going into, not tell you what the curriculum's going to be, not tell you where you're going, is because Musashi said the best way to teach that is for people to consider themselves, in the Bushido culture, the samurai always consider themselves already dead. So if you consider yourself a blank slate and where you got to be, then you're open to whatever comes along in the course of the Agoge. I know the secretiveness thing and the packing list thing upset some people, and there's going to be a little learning curve for people with that. The packing list is a packing list, and you have to come with what we tell you to come with.
Yeah, it's very important to remember that this is not the death race, so if we put it on the packing list, you need to bring it, okay? We had a lot of people that were still coming here with that mentality of that previous event that happened here in Pittsfield, and it definitely hindered them quite a bit. So make sure when you get that packing list, when you sign up for the June Agoge, that you get whatever we put on there and you don't try to skimp. Get exactly what we write. We put suggestions on what type of materials people needed. When it came to sleeping bags, we suggested you're going to need it for this temperature. And some people didn't listen to us and they went and bought 40-degree temperature sleeping bags. And we're out here in Vermont and it was negative 20. It was not a very wise decision, and that's why they didn't get to sleep at night.
I saw a question about someone saying if they had survival skills and they feel like they know everything, what am I going to get out of Agoge? You know what? Agoge is about fine-tuning your mind and body and bringing you to the realization that there is always something to learn and there is always someone to learn it from. No one is ever at that point where they are absolutely where they have to be. There's always something to learn, and keeping your mind open to that fact is one of the most important things that Agoge will teach you, and that's one of the most important precepts in survival. You don't know everything.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I saw someone ask if, going back to the gear list, if it's like the hurricane heat. It's not like the hurricane heat. Hurricane heat, we do have some subjectivity. Here, we are very specific. This is what you need. That's what you get. Okay? So keep it very, very specific and make sure that you get exactly what we tell you for the Agoge.
Okay, so someone asked a question about the background and qualifications of the cadre. I was talking at the True North station this weekend and saying everybody has a different set of circumstance and experience they bring to things. And the cadre, it's not cadre, I'm mistaken, it's Cryptea. The Cryptea for Agoge are consummate professionals pulled out of every discipline we think is applicable. And the other thing we do is we actually have people who've competed in these races who are brought on as Cryptea. There will be some interesting things coming about with that. So we have a wealth of people. We have people who've been professional warriors. We have people who are very skilled at different facets of life, and then we have actual racers who've come on to help us move things through in a way that keeps it interesting. And when you develop these modules, you have to have a broad spectrum of people and a broad spectrum of experience. And I think with the international Cryptea, we've got people from Singapore, we've got people who served in the Army, we have mountain school people, we have
we have the Rangers, we have, you have everything, special forces, endurance racers, we have a lot of experienced
Yes.
individuals bringing all their different talents to the table. We have women, we have everybody here.
Yep. I think I just saw a question about time hacks. I think there are, I wouldn't call them so much time hacks. There are definite hacks in there. Some of them are for equipment. We're actually going to have to fine tune the equipment. Where if you're not following the equipment list, there's going to be a penalty for that, and it may be that you don't get to continue on. As far as specific time hacks, Agoge's not a race, but it is an event that is geared towards moving along on a schedule and has to be adhered to. And if you hold your team up when it's a team event, there's going to be repercussions. And if you hold yourself up or don't participate, there'll be repercussions. Tony and I were talking about, if you spend more than an hour down or stuff like that, then there's going to be DNF statuses and stuff. And Tony and I are going to have to work that through a little more.
Yeah. So one of the things that we were talking about yesterday was if you end up having to go into medical, or for whatever reason you're not keeping up, there's going to be either a penalty or you're going to be just DNF'd. So, there is going to be that need for a sense of urgency. Say, for an instance like this event, if someone had to go in and have their feet checked, and takes an hour to get their feet warmed up, and then they come back in, well, they just missed an hour of activity, right? And then a couple hours later, they have to go get it checked again, and they're out for another hour. Now they've missed another hour of activity. At that point, they're DNF'd because they've been out too long. So there won't necessarily be time hacks, but there will be like time limits, and there will be penalties if you're not meeting those time limits.
So I saw a good question as a race director. Were we happy with when I couldn't be happier? I think what happened here this weekend was amazing. People really stepped up and faced some hugely adverse conditions. I think the growing pains weren't as much as I thought they were going to be. I think we moved along very well, and I think what you're going to find is most of the people who went through the event are very happy with the event, and so am I.
I think this is a really great experience, and given the extremely cold conditions, I'm super proud of the team and how all of the Cryptea were able to adapt on the fly. I mean, as we kept watching the temperature, going out, checking it constantly, seeing what the wind chill was, looking at the NWS chart, which is the weather safety, so we know how long people can be exposed. As we constantly did that, we were able to adjust on the fly and make sure that we did not put any of our participants at risk, and I'm extremely, extremely happy with the turnout of the event across the board.
I just saw a question. We've been asked if either of us slept yet. Not as much as I would like to have. I think sleep is going to be something we catch up on gradually. Tony and I have been doing a lot with social media and trying to get the message out and talking to people who are here, and I think that's going to be something that we catch up to gradually and move along with.
I got to bed about maybe 11:30 last night, woke up at like 5:36 today, been up since. So hopefully I'll get more and more sleep each day. I saw someone asking about if this event was just like doing 4 back-to-back or 5 back-to-back Hurricane Heat 12 hours. Absolutely not. That is not the case. The Hurricane Heat 12-hour Hurricane Heat is more of an event that's just designed to push you and see how you can react in a given situation and see how you can overcome the adversity that we put you through, and see that you can work as a team as well as an individual, which are all those different components are very important to being able to do an Agoge. But the events are very different in the way that they're laid out. The Hurricane 12-hour has the elimination factor. It has there's no hand holding, there's no teaching. It's really just go, 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 go. Agoge, again, has a lot of teaching, so there's a lot of learning during it and then application of what you learn. In the 12-hour, there's no time to be teaching. You just have to adapt on the fly.
Okay, well, the questions are slowing down a little bit.
So if there's any other questions, we'll answer a couple more. Otherwise, we'll Any particular highlights from this weekend?
I think I would have to pick what was most inspirational or instructional. Just how adaptable you guys are when you come out to these things. I know there were some people who had the mindset of the death race, and about 12 hours into it, they realized Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. The death race is not here. And you know what? I am so proud of the participants and how much resilience and adaptability they had to grasp the new circumstance and move on and realize, oh my gosh, this is amazing, and just move forward with it. I think the other thing I was really inspired by was, again, the staff. The staff just stepped up, did exactly what they had to, kept everyone safe, kept everyone challenged.
Really long hours, staying out there in the cold with the participants. The participants are moving constantly, and the cryptea are out there not moving as much as they are, and they're still out there making sure that everyone is safe and getting the task at hand complete. I saw a question about how many Agoges per year. That's still to be determined. Right now, this year, there's 2 scheduled. There's going to be 1 in Singapore, hopefully later in the year. So that'll make 3 total internationally. And then we may or may not be able to bring one to the West Coast this year. We'll see what we can do. And each year we hope to have more and more.
I saw a question about percentages, people completing, and this is where Agoge differs from a lot of things. There's a chance for 100% finisher participants to finish. In the beta, we only had 15% of those people complete. In this one, I think we're around 70%, somewhere around there. It's going to vary, and I think what we're going to find is that it's going to vary depending on who shows up, how well they're prepared, and what they come for.
Unlike say the 12-hour hurricane heat, for example, there we have a set percentage completion that we're shooting for to make sure that we're setting a certain standard, which is 40%. For the regular hurricane heat, we shoot for 100%. Here we're shooting for 100% if we can get it. I saw someone ask if the death race is going to come back to Spartan. All I can say is, that's something that's to be determined.
Keep your eyes and ears open. No, you never know what'll happen and what won't happen in this world. Things change. And someone asked, how was the whiskey?
The whiskey was delicious last night.
Yeah, whiskey was definitely what the doctor ordered.
Good, nice nightcap. So if there's any other questions, we'll take one more question. Otherwise, I think we're going to get going. We have an interview with Mud Run Guide a little bit later today that we'll be doing. So hope everyone had a great time. Hope everyone signs up for the June Agoge.
I saw a question. Okay, so there was a question. Someone asked the numbers for June. Is there a cap? I think the number we're capping it at is 300. That's a hard cap. We're going to have to see. We're going to start pushing registration and asking people to really come out and experience this.
Yeah, so I think 300 would be the cap. If we do hit that cap and we still and if we're able to get enough staff to manage more, then we can maybe manage more. But right now, currently, we have enough staff that volunteer and dedicate their time to this event to handle 300.
And I think that's probably where we're at.
1-to-8 ratio.
Yeah, we shoot for a 1-to-8 ratio, so 1 staff to every 8 participants.
So about the gear, there is stuff in the works that's a little above my pay grade, but I know it's in the works about hooking up with people like for the MREs and stuff like that, and that'll be announced and put out to you guys as soon as we have something to give you.
After this weekend, our sponsorship team should be putting a lot of work into making sure we get some sort of setup so that we can help our participants get all the gear they need.
What's next? Agoge June.
Agoge June is next. Come on out to Agoge in June. We'll be back here in Pittsfield, Vermont. It's going to be a very, very interesting experience. We've already started talking about the gear list. Given that it won't be winter, I can guarantee it won't be as expensive.
Okay, thank you guys, and for coming out and talking to us.
Thank you everyone for taking the time today to ask us some questions. we're excited to see this event evolve. And like I said, June, get signed up. We'll see you out there.